Hello, I'm Joy Matthews, your host for this episode of Consumer Compass. Today, we're going to focus on one of the programs we manage here at the Office of Consumer Protection. It is the Commission on Common Ownership Communities. Approximately 1/3 of Montgomery County residents live in a common ownership community.
The Commission on Common Ownership Communities, or CCOC, is an agency established by the county government to act as an advocate and dispute resolution agency for condominium associations, homeowner associations, and cooperative housing associations. The county currently has well over 1,000 different such associations with over 125,000 homes. The CCOC was created as a result of several studies done by attorneys, managers, and people who work and live in common ownership communities. It was started in 1991. It's the oldest and the first of its kind in the entire United States.
It's important for residents in HOAs and other common ownership communities to know what the rules are in their communities, and for there be an effective way to resolve disputes when they occur. And there always are disputes that come up, whether it's parking or whether it's architectural review, standards in terms of painting and design, and to disputes over HOA fees and efforts by associations to recover them. And so it is important to have a county commission like this, which is composed of 15 dedicated volunteers that helps educate people in our county who live in HOAs.
We have three basic functions. One is to act as an advocate for common ownership communities. We participate in the legislative proposals being made in Annapolis every year, and if necessary at the county level. We work with the public utilities to make sure that common ownership community members get the same benefits that people do who live in single-family houses. We provide education, which is extremely important because most boards of directors of these associations have no training in what they're doing, and they need a source of free or inexpensive information. And finally, we provide a very useful service by the fact that the commissioners can resolve disputes the same way a court can. They can hold hearings, they make binding decisions that have the same effect as a court decision. They can do it faster and more cheaply than the court system can.
Recently, the CCOC produced 15 short educational videos to help people understand their rights, roles, and responsibilities as part of a community association. The videos can help those who are thinking of buying a home in a community association, as well as resident members, board members, or anyone who might want to join the board of their homeowners association. So let's look at some of the videos. The entire series can be found on the Consumer Protection website along with written information.
The Commission on Common Ownership Communities, or CCOC, is an official agency of the Montgomery County government. It's staffed by the county's Office of Consumer Protection and operates pursuant to Chapter 10B of the Montgomery County Code. There are 15 commissioners who are appointed for 3-year terms. They can serve for a maximum of 2 consecutive terms. 8 members must be residents of common ownership communities, and the other 7 must be professionals such as property managers, lawyers, developers, and realtors. The Office of the County Attorney provides legal support to the Commission. The Commission has 3 basic duties: to provide education to homeowners and boards, to advise the county executive on issues affecting common ownership communities, and to resolve certain kinds of disputes between common ownership communities and their members. The CCOC meets the first Wednesday of every month. Members discuss any pending county or state legislation that might be of interest, or any education materials to share with the community. The CCOC also determines whether complaints filed are within its jurisdiction to hear, or if they are, to assign them to hearing panels. CCOC meetings are open to the public. If the CCOC accepts a case, it appoints a hearing panel consisting of a chairperson and 2 commissioners, 1 resident and 1 professional member. The hearing is generally set for an evening at least 30 days after the monthly meeting. The CCOC offers a large library of information on the rights and duties of both homeowners and boards under Maryland law, as well as advice on how to properly operate the association and avoid complaints. The CCOC has many documents on its website, including its manual and resource guide for boards of directors, and detailed information on architectural control, assessments, and meetings. The CCOC also publishes an electronic newsletter summarizing recent developments. Visit the CCOC website for more information at montgomerycountymd.gov/CCOC. If you have questions, contact the CCOC by email. If you want to receive more information by email about CCOC news and events, sign up for them by going to montgomerycountymd.gov and follow these links.
Suppose you want to add a new deck to your house, or build a new shed or fence. Is a building permit from your local government enough? If you live in a homeowners, condominium, or cooperative association, you probably will need permission from your association as well as from your local government. That's because you live under 2 sets of binding obligations, those adopted by the government and those adopted by your association. You must obey both of them. All common ownership communities prohibit making any changes to the houses or lots without permission in advance from the association. Even if you have a permit from the government, that permit is not binding on your association, and your association can still reject your requested change even if the government approved it. Likewise, your association might give you permission to make a change, but you still need to get local government approval for it when necessary. In a few cases, local laws do override community association rules. For example, in Maryland, the association cannot prevent you from installing solar panels on your roof, although it can set reasonable conditions. Federal law allows you to have a TV satellite dish on property you own. Nor can an association prevent you from operating a daycare center in your home, unless it has a rule specifically aimed at regulating or prohibiting daycare centers. But such laws are the exception and not the rule. The rule is, if you want to make a change to your house or your lot, you need to follow the rules of both your association and your local government. For more information on this and other rules pertaining to common ownership communities, please go to the CCOC website.
A common ownership community is a group of homes that has its own government and its own binding rules. Common ownership communities in Maryland can be condominium associations, homeowner associations, and cooperative housing associations. Anyone who buys a home in a common ownership community agrees to abide by the rules and regulations of the community. These associations vary somewhat, but they all share these characteristics. First, the members share ownership of the community property. Second, the members must pay dues or assessments to maintain the property. Third, the members must obey the association's rules and regulations. Fourth, the associations are mini democracies in which the members elect their boards of directors and have many other legal rights. And fifth, they are all regulated by state laws. Sixth, when you buy a home in the community, you agree to obey the community rules. The main difference between a condominium association and a homeowners association is that in a condominium, the members usually own the insides of their units, while the condominium owns the land and usually owns the basic structure of the buildings. In a homeowners association, the members own their homes and the land the home sits on. In a housing cooperative, there is a corporation that owns both the buildings and the land. Members buy shares or stock in the corporation. Those shares entitle them to rent a unit or a lot owned by the corporation. Usually, members are co-owners of the corporation who rent the lot or unit from the corporation. All these communities have rules which are legally binding on the members and which can be enforced in court. HOAs and condominiums file their basic governing documents with the county land records, and they affect all the deeds of title of the member lots or units. At the same time, these communities are democracies that are owned by the members and depend on their participation. Members elect the boards, can call special meetings to adopt or repeal the rules, can remove board members, can inspect the association's records, and attend its meetings. It is essential for members to participate in the association's affairs and governance if the association is to be successful. For more information about common ownership communities in Montgomery County, go to the CCOC website.
All condominium, homeowner, and cooperative housing associations in Maryland are governed by their boards of directors. Directors are usually volunteers and serve without pay. Many directors have little or no previous experience managing the complicated affairs of their associations. It's important for volunteers to know that Maryland law protects board members from lawsuits and personal liability. In Maryland, a director who acts in good faith and to the best of his or her ability cannot be sued or held personally liable for his or her mistakes. The purpose of this protection is to encourage volunteers to serve. Otherwise, many associations will not be able to fully staff their board. But Maryland law also expects directors to act in the best interest of their associations and to put the association's interests higher than their own. For example, a director who is a landlord should not vote against an assessment increase simply because it makes his unit less profitable. Association documents give the board of directors the right to make most decisions on association management. This means that they do not need to have the approval of the members for most of their decisions. They have the right to raise and collect the annual assessments, arrange for repairs and improvements, hire contractors, select managers and employees and set their salaries, adopt the annual budgets, adopt or change rules and regulations, and enforce rules against members in violation. Boards are required to enforce the rules even-handedly. Boards must give advance notice of their meetings, and their meetings must be open to all members of the association. However, in rare circumstances, the law allows them to close the meeting for a particular discussion. For more information, see the chapter on meetings in our manual and resource guide. If you want to participate in the management of your association, get elected to the board. To find out more, go to the CCOC website.
Association homeowners have the right to be informed about the community's finances and rules before they buy a home. You have the duty to ask the seller of the home for this information, which the law requires him to give you. You have the right to participate in the community's governance by voting in elections, by voting on amendments to the governing documents, and by petitioning for special meetings to allow members to vote on other topics of concern. You have the duty to keep informed of your association's activities and to donate your services as needed to help run your association. You have the right to effective service and proper maintenance of association property. You have the duty to pay your assessments in full and on time. You have the right to know what your board of directors is doing by attending its meetings and inspecting the documents and financial records of your association. You have the duty to learn the reasons for what the board does before you criticize it. You have the right to the protections and privileges given to all members by the association documents. You have the duty to read and understand your association's documents and to obey its rules. You have the right to make changes to your property and unit. You have the duty to apply for and obtain the association's permission for any changes you wish to make before you make them. You have the right to fair treatment if the association charges you with a violation of the rules. You have the duty to respond to your association in good faith, to try to cooperate with it in resolving the dispute. You have the right to privacy consistent with the law and the reasonable rules of your association. You have the duty to respect your neighbor's privacy and to not create any nuisances for them. You have the right to be treated with respect by your neighbors, your board of directors, and your managers. You have the duty to treat these people with respect. You have the right to complain to the CCOC or the courts if your association violates its rules or the laws. You have the duty to notify the association of your concerns and give it the chance to resolve them before you take the dispute to court. For more information about common ownership communities, go to the CCOC's website.
Common ownership associations have established architectural procedures and guidelines designed to protect the appearance and condition of the properties in them. Historically, these rules and regulations are negotiated by the local government with the property developer in order to leave the finished community with a set of rules for guiding maintenance and enhancements. Usually, a committee administers the architectural rules. Sometimes the board of directors itself will take on the job. The committee or board is typically charged with the responsibility to regulate the external design and appearance of the property. Any improvements are intended to both preserve and enhance property values and appearance and to ensure consistency. It's important to understand that almost all association governing documents say that no changes can be made to the appearance of a home or lot without prior approval from the association. Such a rule is legally binding and will be enforced in court. Compliance with the rules set forth in the governing documents allows communities to preserve and enhance the value of their members' properties. Committees or boards frequently adopt written procedures for architectural control so that the decisions are fair, consistent, and of high quality. Most governing documents require written applications to the committee or board for review, inspection, and approval of all exterior structural changes, alterations, or modifications. This includes fences, decks, exterior painting, roof replacements, etc. Committees may adjust their guidelines to allow for new materials that come onto the market. Sometimes an application made by a member is denied. In those cases, the member should be able to appeal the decision to the community's board of directors. If the matter cannot be resolved at the board level, and the homeowner believes that the community's process was not properly followed, the homeowner can appeal to the county's Commission on Common Ownership Communities. Associations should adopt written procedures for a fair architectural program and educate their members to help them understand and use these procedures for their own and their community's benefit. For more information on the CCOC and architectural issues, check its website.
Homeowner associations, condominiums, and cooperatives all have a fiduciary responsibility to protect and improve the appearance and value of the property they own. To accomplish this, it is imperative that every association develops and follows a financial plan that provides the necessary resources. All associations must have an operating budget to manage the daily expenses of their associations. Generally, the association's treasurer coordinates the development of the budget among the property manager, financial committee, and board of directors. The purpose of the operating budget is to manage the community's expenses for maintenance, repairs, capital improvements, and projected reserves. Budgets primarily comprise three components: income, operating expenses, and capital improvements / reserve expenses. A community's income primarily comes from monthly assessments paid by homeowners. The duty of the board of directors is to ascertain what its costs will be and then to set the annual assessments at a level that will cover costs. Costs include operating expenses and capital improvement needs. The board should also establish and fund a capital reserve or replacement fund. This effort starts with an inventory of the common community assets, including playgrounds, streets, pools, interior spaces, roofs, utilities, etc. These commonly owned assets require periodic replacement or major renovation using funds from the Capital Reserve Fund. The goal of the Capital Reserve Fund is to plan ahead for repairs and replacements so that the money for the repairs is on hand when needed. The best way to plan the reserve fund is to have a reserve study performed every 5 years or so. Most associations hire financial professionals to perform a reserve study. The study includes an assessment of that community's capital assets and proposes a reserve fund plan. The plan provides an overview of the condition of the community assets, as well as a financial plan to accumulate the necessary funds. As part of its annual budget, associations should target the amount of funds in the reserve plan to meet the projected future obligations and include that in the annual assessments. This Capital Reserve Fund also serves as an information tool for the owners in the community so that they can be aware of the assets they collectively own. This can assure them that the association has funds in place to preserve and enhance those assets. A Capital Reserve Fund also provides a convenient mechanism for the Board of Directors, with community approval, to identify and plan other community improvements. For more information on running an association, check the CCOC's website. Thinking of buying a home? Most new homes are part of homeowner associations, and new multi-unit buildings are usually condominium associations. Older communities can be homeowner or condominium associations, or even cooperative housing associations. In Maryland, we call these common ownership communities. The first thing to know about common ownership communities is that they are democracies governed by their members. Second, by agreeing to buy a home in a common ownership community, you agree to comply with all the association's rules and regulations. If you're considering buying a new home in a common ownership community, the most important document you should see is the public offering statement. The seller of the home, the builder or developer, must give this to you. It contains essential information about the community, such as what property the association owns, what fees the association expects to charge, and what rules and regulations the association has in place. If you don't get the statement before you sign the contract, you may have the right to cancel the contract for a limited period of time after you get the statement. If you're thinking of buying an older home in a common ownership community, the seller, usually the owner of the home or unit, must give you the resale package. This package should include the association's budget, the annual assessments, any special assessments that have been approved, and the identification of any known significant defects in the common areas of the association that will need repairs in the future. The seller should also state whether his own home or unit has any defects in it. The package should include a copy of the association's rules and regulations. If the seller does not offer the package, demand it. If you don't get the package before you sign, you may have a limited right to cancel the contract after you get the package. You will want to familiarize yourself with the association's rules and regulations. Associations can regulate whether you can rent out your home or unit, what kind of vehicle you can park on the property, what pets you can have and how many, whether you can use your home as a business or daycare center, whether and where you can smoke, whether and how you can make changes to your house or unit. You will also want to know what kinds of amenities your association offers, such as pools, playgrounds, parking, and storage space. In addition, a condominium should meet the lending requirements of the Federal Housing Administration. If the association is not certified by the FHA and other federal lending agencies will not issue loans to buyers of units in that condominium. For more information, read our brochure, What You Should Know About Buying a Home in a Condominium, Cooperative, or Homeowners Association, available on the CCOC website.